So how did you start dirt karts?
Started dirt karts. My old man used to race them, so pretty much used to go there when I was a kid. Used to watch him, and of course, when I was old enough, I just couldn't wait to get out there. And back then it was 8, so pretty much when I was 8 years old, I was out on track and running around.
So he just come home one day and said, "You're in."
Oh no! Obviously, leading up to me turning 8, he found an old cart, and my dad, he used to like sort of modifying things and building things himself. So he used to build his own motors back then, and with his carts, he used to like modifying them, sort of cutting bars out of them, and putting different bars in them. So he found an old speed car, I think it was, speed chassis or speed cart, and basically he just modified to suit me being so small and virtually an adult sized cart. So I had to bring the pedals back and move the seat forward. And I think from memory, because my sister would race as well, so I think we used to go to Morgan a couple of times before I was 8, and you could hire the track out. So used to do that a little bit, and then straight into it. So when I was 8 years old, first race at Adelaide Dirt Karts, the old track, and I think it was the first year they created the rookie class too. So didn't have to go on the juniors straight away, which is good because obviously the big kids push you around a bit. But
so then, obviously, pretty successful through the dirt karts for them to see something in you to then go spend the money on a lightning sprint.
Yeah. To be honest, I didn't really race dirt karts that much. I think my dad was just busy, obviously working, and pretty much he built a couple of houses throughout my younger years, and so what it's like. I know what it's like now doing it myself. Trying to establish a house with the landscaping and getting it to where you want them and whatnot. So sort of tied up a lot of our weekends, but I think I probably raced it maybe 8 to 10 times a season. So it wasn't much, but it was some good times, and I guess as a family, we used to go out to the Speedway and watch the sprint cars there at Speedway City, and it was something I always dreamt about, and I guess probably my dad dreamt about it too, but probably didn't have the opportunity and the money to do it. So karts is where he sort of stuck to, but for me, I just it's all I ever dreamt about, really. Like, I used to daydream at school. Used to draw pictures all the time of sprint cars, and back then it was Gary Rush, Max Dumsley. They were my heroes, and even on my karts, I used to pull the Valvoline stickers off the oil bottles and stick them on my karts. So I'd look like had the Valvoline sponsorship and whatnot. So it was just one of those things. I wanted to head that way, and I guess as I got older, I think I was around 15, and I sort of left school early and started working when I was just before I was 16. So once I started earning a bit of my own money, and I guess my parents knew I wanted to head that direction. So we looked at our options, and I think Formula 500 was one of them. And obviously that local class, the V6 Sprints, and we're sort of humming and hawing which way to go. I think we just opted for the V6 Sprints, thinking that was a bit cheaper way to do it. Sort of start off once again buying a pretty old speed car roller, and didn't know anything about Speedway at all, really. Like, just had to do a lot of research, and once again my dad built a lot of the parts. Pretty much made everything he could. It took a lot of time. I think it took us a good 2 years to build the car, over time, which was pretty frustrating for me. All I wanted to do was race. So I actually had a bit of time out of racing because, we sold the karts, and finally got on track with our first V6 Sprint, and it just took off from there, really. Like, pretty early on, I think it was only half a season, I was, starting to win races. Back then, there was some good car counts as well, and some good drivers. And then, from there, I think it just, like I said, it just took off for me, really. And opportunity started to open up.
So how old were you when you got into the sprint cars then?
I was 21 when I started in the sprint car, so I think I was 17 when I started Speedway. So yeah, there was a bit of a gap from the karts to the Speedway scene. But yeah, I finally got there when I was 21 years old, and to be honest, I didn't think it would ever happen, because sort of I knew, like, my parents alone couldn't afford to do, or to race a sprint car or to fund a sprint car team. So it all snowballed from the V6 sprint days, and getting results in that. Some people start to take notice, and then you get sponsors, and I had some really good people behind me that had some contacts in the sprint car game, and also some contacts in the business game could help out with sponsorship. So, but there was even a year between the V6 and the sprint car where I raced a speed car. So for Bert Fenton, he approached me, and it was good fun.
It's pretty funny to think that your career could have gone totally different direction with midgets from that point there. The midget door can be so big, like America and all that sort of stuff.
I kind of sort of, when I did get offered the ride, the first night I was out at Speedway City, and first didn't get a practice night or nothing in it, so I just jumped straight in it, and going from a wing car to a non-wing car, which had, I think, nearly twice the power. It was a pretty awesome feeling for me, and it took me pretty much to the feature to get a handle of it, and to get used to the feeling of it leaning over so hard and whatever else it was doing. But we actually got to the lead in the feature, so we were actually leading the race, and I think 5 to go, it sheared the keyway off the power steering pump. Ran out of power steering, and my little arms back then couldn't quite hang on. I actually can't remember if I finished second or where I finished, but it would have been nice to have won that on debut. And then so I think that was the season before I ran it full time, and then I got the ride. So it was a interesting year. We I think we pretty much won most things local, and then unfortunately every time a big show come around, there'd be a drum with the car or a bit of a gremlin. So I think the one good night we had in that car on a national scene was up at Mildura for the Super Series they used to run back in the day, the Triple S or the Super Series, whatever it's called. And that was when I reckon midgets was at its strongest. You had Adam Clark, Pickens in the
polarized car.
No, it was the those yellow Brecker cars. There was a bit of a team of them, and Graham Stewart, a lot of good drivers and teams back then, and we actually ran 4th up there against all those guys, and that was probably the best we could sort of do when it comes to the big races. But for a little car, little team like Bert Fenton, he did it all on his own back then, and he was a pensioner, just loved his racing and did whatever he could to go racing. And I guess for a little team like that to do, get a result like that was pretty good.
So that was like TRDs and stuff like that starting to come in by that time? Is that still?
I reckon that was back when the Ed Pinks were real big, the Ford motors. Yeah. And then we just had a Nissan FJ20 motor in ours, but the thing went good. Just obviously lacked a bit of torque and was a bit heavy, but if the track conditions are right, you could still give them a bit of a hurry up.
So then your first sprint car was essentially a family car?
No, see, after that, I sort of realised, sprint car racing is where it's at, and it was always where I wanted to be anyway, and it's what I always loved. And like I said, going out to Speedway City or Speedway Park back then, and watching World Series and all the big names come to town, Gary Rush, Max Stumsey, Gary Brazier, all the people you idolised, and it's where I wanted to be racing. And so had some people that were in the game, and good family friend Gary Carlier, and he used to help out with World Series a bit, so he knew a few of the teams and knew